Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's tutorial, I know you saw my thumbnail. This is the shawl for our matching tank top set. I'm gonna call this the Shell Picot set. I love this thing. I think this is so pretty. So before the tutorial started, you saw a few pictures of my shawl, so you can get the full view of what what my shawl looks like. I do think the variegated yarn may have taken away from the beauty of the shawl, so I think a solid color would have been better. Hindsight. But I'm going to fold this up and we're going to talk about what you're going to need, okay? So for my shawl, it measures across the back 57 inches and then 30 inches down the center. But you can make that as big as you want to. All you do is repeat a 2-row repeat, and you repeat those for as big as you want, and you end on row 4. Always end on a row 4, okay? And then what I used, I'm trying to tie up my strand here. I used my bobbins here. Now, back when these were on sale for really cheap, honestly, I don't remember how much they were, but I got 4 of these bobbins. And to make the shawl, I used 3 full and then that much of a fourth, part of my bobbin. And you can see here, each color is 181 yards, and there's a total of 543 yards on the bobbin. It's a 4-weight, 100% acrylic, anti-pilling acrylic. I would totally compare this to Caron Simply Soft. It's very splitty like Caron is, but it's so pretty. Very, very stunning colors. So what I did for the top and my shawl set is I thought, well, I'm going to go with using the colors of my bobbin. Now, like I said a little bit ago, hindsight 2020, I probably would not have used the variegated on the shawl or the top. I would have used the solid or the 2 solid colors, like probably just done the tank or why do I keep calling it a tank top? Blech. Probably would have done the top in, I don't know, I bet that would have looked really good in the light color, and then the shawl in the dark color, or vice versa. I wish I wouldn't have used the variegated, but I still like it. I still think it's great. So yeah, and you don't have to use these bobbins. You can use whatever yarn and 4-weight you want to use. Just the thicker the yarn, the bigger the shawl is going to be. So, like I said, I used 3 full, and then just a tad for the border off of the 4th skein or bobbin. And I used a 6mm crochet hook. You're gonna need, you don't have to have this, but it will probably help you a lot. 2 stitch markers, 1 for each end, just so you can keep track of the chain 4s at the end of each of our rows. Let's see. I just had my scissors setting right here. I promise I did. I don't know where they went, but you're going to need a pair, oh, here they are. A pair of scissors and a needle to weave in your ends. And that's it. Well, and a tape measure if you want to keep track of your measurements, but I'll set that in there too. All right, so before we do get started, I do want to mention the matching tank top. Oh, for heaven's sake. The matching top. It is not a tank top. The matching top is going to be in the link for that video is going to be in the description box, all right? And then the written pattern for this is going to be in the description box. All kinds of links down there for all the social media platforms are in the description box, so check out the description box, all right? Okay, now I've rambled on enough. Let's get started. Okay, so to get started with our shawl, I'm going to get a slip knot on my hook, and as always, make sure you have plenty of tail to weave in. There we go. Okay, so we're going to start with a chain of 4. Chain of 4. I don't know why I just said 6. Sorry. Chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to come right back down to that very first chain, and we're going to work a double crochet into there. Now we're going to chain 2 and come right back into that chain, that same chain that we worked into, and we're going to work 2 double crochet. 1 and 2. All right, and that's the end of row 1. So to move on to row 2, we are going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and turn. Now the chain 4s that we work at the beginning of our rows is going to be considered a treble crochet, okay? So we chain 4 and turn. So to start row 2, we're going to double crochet right into that very first double crochet. Very first one. All right, and now we're going to shell into the chain 2 space. And our shell for this pattern is a 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Chain 2, and go right back in there with 2 more double crochets. Okay, and now we're going to come over here and to the top of the chain 4. You can see right here is the top, and then right there, see that little back bump right there? That is our top chain. Now throughout the pattern, if you want to, I'm going to go ahead and just get my stitch markers. I have to show you guys this. This is an old cat treat container, and I used Glue Gun and got all that glue off of it, and then I cleaned the lid off, and it's my stitch marker holder. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and just do is pull my hook out of there, and I'm going to find that top chain, which is right here, because here's the top of our double, and then right there is that chain. So I'm going to mark that, and make sure you catch the side loop and that back bump. And then I'm going to come over here. Well, first I'm just going to work the stitches. All right, so to end row 2 into the top of the chain 4, we're going to work a double. So I'm going to catch the back bump and that top side bump. Get in there. I'm going to work a double crochet into there, and then I'm going to go back in there with a treble. Just like that. And that is the end of row 2. So to move on to row 3, again we're going to chain 4 and turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, turn, and then into the same, into the very first treble crochet, we're going to work a double, chain 2, and go right back into the top of that treble with 2 more double crochet. So that's how we're increasing the shell, is working into that treble. I need to get me some slack. Just a second. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and mark the, pull this up, get out of there. I'm going to mark the top of that chain 4 with my stitch marker right there. So I have the back bump and that side loop. All right, so into the treble crochet, work a double, chain 2, 2 double right back in there. And now we're going to jump straight to that next chain 2 space and work a shell, which again is 2 double, chain 2, and go back in there for another 2 double, just like that. And then into the chain 4 that we have marked, we're going to work 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, chain 2, and we're going to go back in there with a double crochet and a treble. 2, 3. There we go. So that is the end of row 3. It's just so pretty. I love the texture it gives. Anyway, all right, so we are going to chain 4 and turn. 2, 3, 4. Turn our work. And now we're going to start row 4. And row 4 is the first row of the 2-row repeat for our, I about said cardigan, for our shawl, okay? So row 4, we're going to double crochet right back into that treble crochet. Right back in there. Just follow your chain 4 down. That very top of that treble, we're going to work a double. And now we're going to jump to the next chain 2 space, which is right next to us. We're going to work our shell, 2 double, chain 2, 2 double. One more. And now we're going to work a shell into each of the chain 2 spaces across our shawl. So for row 4, I still have 2 more chain 2 spaces to go into. So I'm going to work my shell here. Chain 2, right back in there. This last chain 2. And with each repeat of your row 4 and row 5, row 4 and row 5, the more shells you're going to have across. All right, so chain 2 and go right back in there with my last 2 double crochet. All right, and to end row 4, we are going to work a double crochet and a treble into the top of that chain 4. So I'm going to go right in there with my double and my treble. All right, and that's the end of row 4. So row 4 starts with your chain 4 and your double, and then into each of the chain 2 spaces across, you're going to work your shell, 2 double, chain 2, 2 double, next chain 2 space, 2 double, chain 2, 2 double, next chain 2 space, work your shell, 2 double, chain 2, 2 double. Work that all the way across until you get to your last chain 4 and work a double crochet and a treble, and then we're going to chain 4 and turn to move on to row 5, which is the second row of our 2-row repeat. So row 5, we are going to go right back into that treble crochet and work 1 double, chain 2, and go right back in there with 2 more double crochet. Just like that. And now jump straight across to your next chain 2 space and work your shell. 1, 2, chain 2, right back in there with 2 double. And work your shell into each chain 2 space across until your chain 4. So I'm going to jump to my next chain 2 space, work my shell, chain 2. I didn't even mark my chain 4 at the end. All right, go right back in there with 2 more doubles. My next chain 2 space, 2 double, oop, chain 2, back in there with 2 double, and to end row 5 and to the top of the chain 4, we're going to work 2 double, chain 2, go right back in there with a double, and we're going to end with our treble. Just like that. And here is what your shawl should be looking like. Very pretty. All right, so the pattern repeat is 4 and 5, 4 and 5, 4 and 5. So I'm going to go ahead and work row 4 and 5 one more time with you guys. And I'm going to give you some of the, how can I explain this? Okay, so my brain finds simplified ways to remember patterns. Some of them are kind of weird. Some of them are kind of, other people, like one of them that comes to my mind is when I work a chevron pattern. So when I did a tutorial on a little baby blanket, and the way I explained in the tutorial that I remember the pattern, a lot of people were like, this is the best, I love this helps me learn so much easier. And then other people would comment and be like, this is confusing the crap out of me. So you can repeat row 4 and 5 like I just showed you, and now I'm going to show you how I remember my rows, which, I mean, it's 2 rows, it's easy, you know, you can get this, but there's a little way in my mind that I kind of tell myself how to remember the difference between row 4 and 5, because once you work this so many times, you know, there's kind of, crap, what row am I on, 4 or 5? How do I know what this row ends with? Well, one way is obviously to look how you began the row, but another way is to follow my little memory phrase, I guess, the way I remember. So what I do is I chain 4 to turn, let's see, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so what row am I on, 4 or 5? I don't remember. Well, I look here. So I know that the row 4 and 5, we work how we begin the row, and then we start into the shells into the chain 2 spaces, right? Well, one row starts with just you work a double crochet into that treble, the very last treble, and then you work your shells into the chain 2 spaces. Well, the one way I remember what row I'm working on is I look at this and I think that first chain 2 space and this treble that we work into is really close. So there is no way I can fit a shell in there. Well, I can fit the beginning shell, I'll say, which I'm going to refer to as the treble, double, chain 2, double, double into the last chain 2 space. Well, that can't fit there, right? Because if I work that here and then work the shell into this chain 2 space, our work is going to lay like this, right? And that's not what we want. So by looking at the space right here, that's how I instantly know, okay, this is a row 4. This is where we just work a double into that treble and then move on to our pattern repeat, which is the shell into each chain 2 space. Does that make sense? I want to make sure I'm doing this clear because a lot of people got confused with the last time I explained how my mind works. Oop, oop, oop. Get in there. All right. So if I stop here and lay it down and take that chain and lay it like that, see how it continues that nice shape right there? Now if I work the shell in that, which what I mean by saying that is the treble, or in this case the chain 4, a double crochet, and then if I went ahead and started it with the way chain row 5 start, oop, I forgot to do the chain. 1, 2, and go back in there with the 2 doubles. And then jump to that first chain 2 space and work my shell. Now look at it. See what I mean? So that's how I look at what I'm doing. Okay, so here's the top of my treble that each row works in, but what do I work? That little shell or just the double? Well, look at how much space is in there. It's really small, so that tells me it's just that double crochet, and then I go on. Okay, so I saw that I have a little bit of space between my first chain 2 space and my beginning of my row, so I know it's just a double. And then I jump to that chain 2 and work my double, or work my shell, double, double, chain 2, double, and double. And now I'm just going to repeat that across, and into each chain 2, work my shell, 2 double, chain 2, 2 double. I hope that didn't confuse you guys. If it did, I'm sorry. Just watch what I'm doing. Or the pattern, the link to the patterns in the description box too. All right, so chain 2, finish this shell, go on to the next, chain 2, finish that shell. All right, I'm to my last chain 2 space, so work my last shell, 1, 2, and 1 double and 2 double. All right, so I'm to the end of the row, and let's say, you know, your piece is so big and you're like, oh, I don't remember how to work this. Well, first you can just come over and look at what you started with, because the row is going to start and end with the same stitch. It just flipped. It's just mirrored. So this one started with the chain 4 and the double. So this is going to end with a double and a treble, because this chain 4 counts as a treble. Or you can look down here. Look what you have in this chain, or that's a treble. Yeah, into this treble. You have that little shell. So you know this one gets the double and then a treble. Another way, you could have looked at the space. Look how close that first chain 2 is to this end right here. Okay, so that was the end of row 4. So to move on to row 5, we work our chain 4, which counts as our treble, and turn. Now look at the space between the very first treble and our shell. So that's how I know this row is going to start with our little shell. So I'm going to go right back into that treble with my double, chain 2, and go right back in there with 2 more double. 1 and 2. Now I'm going to jump to that first chain 2 space and start my shell repeat. Double, double, chain 2, right back in there with my double and double. All right, so now I'm just going to double into each chain 2 space all the way across until I get to that treble. Or is it, which one is it, the treble or is it the chain 4? It's the chain 4. I bumped my camera, sorry. All right, so double, jump to that next chain 2 space, 2 double, chain 2, right back in there with 2 double. Next chain 2 space, 1, 2 double, chain 2, right back in there, 1 and 2, and the last chain 2 space, double, double, chain 2, double, and double. All right, so now I jump straight to that chain 4, the top of the chain 4, and I work the, well, first I need to find it right here. I'm going to catch the back bump and the side loop. It's a little tight. I'm going to work my 2 double, chain 2, and I'm going to go right back in there with my double and my treble. And there we go. That is the end of row 5. So that's your repeat. Repeat row 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5 over and over and over again. Now, like I said, I already had my piece done, so I'm going to grab it off my mannequin, and then we're going to work the border around it. So I'll be right back. All right, so I have repeated 4 and 5, 4 and 5, and here is my finished shawl. I ended on, well, I shouldn't say finished, my main body finished. I ended on a row 5, and I'm going to start the border. So our border is going to be a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to turn our work, and we're going to go right back into that treble crochet with a double, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain from our hook. So right there's the 1st, here's the 2nd, there's the 3rd. Slip stitch right in there. chain 1. Don't forget that little chain 1, okay? And then we're going to go right back into the top of that treble with 2 doubles. So that is our little beginning picot shell. Just like that. All right, now for all the way across the top of our shawl, we are going to work this little picot shell. So it's 2 double, 1, 2, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Go into the 3rd chain from your hook, 1, 2, 3, and slip stitch. Chain 1, go right back into that chain 2 space with your 2 double. 1 and 2. Jump to that next chain 2 space and work your picot shell. 2 double. Chain 4. Slip stitch into the 3rd chain from your hook. Chain 1 and go right back into that chain 2 space with 2 double. And jump to your next chain 2 space and repeat your picot shell again. So repeat that, pull this up, all the way across the top of your shawl into each of those chain 2 spaces, okay? And I will come back when we get to that last shell. All right, I will be right back. Okay, so I have repeated the picot shell all the way across the top of my shawl, and I worked that picot shell into the last chain 2 space of the last shell, and we are going to go into the very top of that chain 4, and we're going to work one more picot shell. So right in there. I can get in there. There we go. So 2 double. Chain 4. 2, 3, 4. Into the 3rd chain from hook, we're going to work our picot, or well, our slip stitch. Chain 1. And I'm going to rotate my shawl a little bit and then work the last 2 double crochet. 1 and right back in there for 2. So when you lay your shawl out, that picot in the top of that chain 4 is our corner, just like that. Okay? All right, so now to come down our first side, let me rotate my work here. We are going to, all right, we're going to go right around the chain 4, or well, the remaining 3 chains of that chain 4 that we just worked into. We're going to work around it, working the picot shell right around it. 2, chain 4, 3rd chain from hook, slip stitch, chain 1, go back around the chain for 2 more doubles. All right, now we're going to skip. Dang it, I keep bumping the camera. We're going to skip. This is the post of the treble. We're going to skip that, and we're going to come to that chain 4, and we're going to work our next picot shell. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slip stitch. Chain 1, go back around that chain for 2 doubles. All right, we're going to skip the post of the treble, come to that chain, and we're going to picot shell around the chain. Slip stitch into the 3rd chain from our hook, chain 1, go back around the chain. Okay, and that is what we are going to repeat. My yarn's all tangled up. That's what we're going to repeat all the way down this side. So I'm going to work mine off camera. Don't pay attention to all my ends. And I will meet you when we get to this last chain space, okay? So we're skipping the post of the treble and working around the chain. Skip the post of the treble, work around the chain. Repeat that all the way down, and I'll meet you when we get back, or when we get to the very last chain down here, okay? I'll be right back. Alrighty, I have worked this all the way down. Here is the, here's the end. I have a chain right here, and I worked into this chain, so I'm going to skip this treble and work my last one for this side around this chain down here by the by that beginning slip knot. So I'm going to come right around this last chain, work my 2 double. I had to reattach my yarn here, so I'm going to get that out of the way. Chain 4, come down and slip stitch into the 3rd chain from my hook. Don't forget that little chain 1, and go right back around the same chain with my 2 double crochet. And then I give that a tug to pull that together, and there we go. So now I'm going to rotate to the other side of my beginning, like of the row 1 right here, and I'm going to find that chain, or actually that's not the chain, that's, where am I at here? Yeah. And I'm going to come right around the post of the double crochet right here, and I'm going to work my 2 double, chain 4, slip stitch around the 3rd chain, chain 1, go back around the post of that double, and there we go. So there's my bottom edge. Get me some more yarn here. And now up this side we are going to be skipping the chains and working around the post. So there's my chain, and now I'm going to come around the post of that treble. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, slip stitch, chain 1, and 2 double. Okay, so now we skip that chain and go around the post of the treble. So this side's just a tad bit different. We're changing what we're working around and what we're skipping. All right, so I'm going to let you guys work up this side. So this side we're skipping the chain and working around the post. Skipping our chain and working around the post. Skipping the chain, working around the post. All right, so work that up this side, and I'll meet you when we get back to the beginning. All right, so I have repeated that all the way up this side, and I'm coming to skipping the last chain, and I'm around the post of the very last stitch. So I'm going to work my little picot shell. 1, 2 double, chain 4, into the 3rd chain from my hook with a slip stitch, chain 1, and go back around that post for 2 double, and to end our border I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. So if I pull this apart, right there is the post of my first double, and just a tad bit to the right, that is the top of that double, and then right next to that is the top of my chain 3. So I'm gonna slip stitch around there, chain 1, pull up a loop, and cut And there is our shawl. Now all I have to do is weave in all these ends, and I'm going to do that off camera. I'm not going to make you guys watch me do all that, but oh, it's so pretty. I love it. I love it. I love it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget part 2, the matching top that goes with this shawl. The description, or if I get my words right, the link is in the description box for the top that's going to match this shawl, okay? So don't forget to check that out. The written pattern is going to be in the description box. Links to all my social media is in the description box, and yeah. So check out the description box. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, don't forget that matching tank top tutorial and pattern, okay? Or not tank top. I don't know why I keep saying tank top. It's not a tank top. It's just a top. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the greatest, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.